Good evening, everyone. Today is Thursday, January the 8th of 2026. Welcome, everyone, to the new year. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we're on the traditional lands of Wausoba First Nation, part of Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Item number 4, approval of the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions, Madam CEO?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to request just a rejigging of the agenda, if it pleases council. Items under number 10 for new business have some of our staff here, and so I'm requesting that we move those up to the top of the agenda after the approval of the minutes.
So move.
Moved by Councillor Phil Mooney, seconded by Councillor Jim Baxter to move item number 10 up after the minutes. Okay, motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Any more additions or deletions? Councillor Mooney.
I think there's still an opportunity about the Federation of Nova Scotia Municipalities is coming here this May for their biannual conference, and I think they're looking for somebody on the planning committee. So I'd like to put that on there, and we can have a small discussion about that, but I think that spot is still open.
All right, so we'll add that under new business, item 10.3.
Will we accept the agenda with the change?
Okay, a motion on the floor to approve the agenda as amended, seconded by Councillor Lauren Cushion. Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you very much, everyone. Item number 5, declaration of conflict of interest. If there's any declaration of conflict of interest, please notify me, and I'll make sure that your name is recorded in the meeting minutes, and please step away from the table afterwards. Approval of the minutes. I see none, because we had a committee, the whole regular council meeting combined, the last meeting in December. So, with the agenda being moved around, we'll go to item number 10, new business, 10.1, the 2026-2027 legislative agenda. We have with us Darlene LeBlanc, our Deputy CAO. So I'll ask you to turn on your mic, which it automatically comes on, I believe. No, hit your button. Not working? Red blinking light.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Okay.
There you go, Darlene. Thank you very much. You have the floor. Thank you.
Okay. So you've got in your package or online the proposed legislative agenda. I'll just go through each one briefly, and then if you have any questions, we'll deal with those. Just a reminder, the priority ranking. So 1 means the next 2 to 3 months. 2 means within 6 months, and number 3 means 9 to 12 months. So just to kind of prioritize what we have on the list. We have quite a long list, and I just wanted to mention that last year I looked back, and so we did 3 bylaws plus the LUB amendments that came forward, and we dealt with 19 policies at different times through the year. So it's a big piece of work. So under bylaws, we have the building bylaw. So this one will just be to review and update it. It hasn't been updated since 2011, so it was time to do that. Solid waste bylaw, it'll be to look at changes related to recyclables and EPR if that's necessary. Private roads maintenance bylaw, indicate the admin fee is non-refundable and that it's based on project budget, and that MODI will not apply credits or additional charges. The budget must cover the project. Local improvements bylaw, we're looking to simplify the calculation rate. Dog bylaw, we'll be focusing on fierce and dangerous dogs as well as public safety. And blasting, this is a new bylaw, and this is, comes from our experience at the Nova West Regional Business Park and doing some blasting there. Any questions about any of the bylaws before we move on to policies?
Any questions or comments from council? One thing I was going to mention, I do remember blasting, we also had an episode of blasting where they got rid of some old munitions down out of the Chabot Boat Club. So would that be included as well in this, Madam CEO?
That particular example likely would not be covered under the bylaw because that actually was an armed forces operation. It was an unexploded World War II bomb that got discovered that the armed forces came in and dealt with, and there was a controlled blast. They moved it to a remote location and did a controlled blast. So I'm not sure if our bylaw would regulate that because that's a federal issue.
I didn't know, that's the reason why I asked the question. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none?
All right, we'll move on to policies. First one is the wellness program policy, and we'll be looking at the policy on Modi paying for items in advance and then having it come off the payroll. Procurement policy, the province has made some changes to the alternative procurement, so we'll be looking at what changes are required to our policy, as well as adding some health and safety requirements in the procurement documents that we receive. Video conferencing right now the policy states that minutes are posted 24 hours after the meeting, so we'll be looking at that requirement. Heritage Incentive Rebate Program policy, this is the last year for that program, and so we'll be dealing with, or looking at some staff recommendations around that policy. Sports field booking policy is a new policy, and it's been recommended to us from the Recreation Advisory Committee. Grants policy, will be discussing the contingency allowance as well as contributions to individuals. Council procedural policy, we want to align the two agendas, Committee of the Whole and regular council. Right now, they don't match up. Credit card policy is a new policy guiding the use of municipal credit cards. Fees policy, we do an annual review to coincide with the budget, so we'll be doing that. Speed calming, or I can't remember what DSDS stands for, Dynamic Speed Display Sign policy. We'll be looking at adding reference to the annual dates for that program. Dangerous or unsightly policy, again, is just to review and modernize. It hasn't been done since 2018. Payment in lieu of prosecution, same regular review. That one hasn't been looked at since 2002. And streetlight policy right now has a statement in there that the CAO provides a report to council on each application that comes in. We're going to be discussing that aspect of the policy. And that's what we've got so far. We know that things come up during the year, so I'm sure at different times through the year we'll be adding to this list. But for now, this is what we're recommending.
Any comments, suggestions, deletions, additions? Councillor Daniel Muse.
I'll make a motion to recommend to regular council that the 2026-2027 legislation agenda be approved as presented.
Okay, a motion on the floor. I have a seconder. Seconded by Councillor Lauren Cushion. Any discussion on that? Other than the question I had about blasting and CEO mentioned about that's a military exercise. There's no other comments. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you very much, Darlene. Thank you. Item 10.2, the draft 2026-2027 capital investment plan. We have with us Angelique LeBlanc. Your microphone is on, and let's have it.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. So as you know, we're required to complete two budgets every fiscal year, the capital budget and the operating budget. So we're starting off with the capital investment plan tonight. So I am presenting to you the draft capital investment plan for 2026-27. I have to get used to saying that. You have in front of you a 5-year plan due to our requirement to file a 5-year capital investment plan with the province. But I'll only go into detail for with the 26-27 year. The following years are really a forecast, and they're a moving target, so they will change in the upcoming years. So the list below is a combination of projects and acquisitions, coming from a combination of meetings and work with staff, and as well as council workshops. If we look at the beginning of the list, I've divided them into two categories. So we've got the recurring to show our commitment, our annual commitment to our assets, and then the second category is our new projects and acquisitions. The first one, if we begin at the top, under the recurring projects, we've got the sewer system upgrades. So we have an annual contingency of $75,000 funded through the CCBF fund for any upgrades to the sewer system that may need to be done throughout the year. I will also mention, I'll go through the columns while I go through this first one. So the first column is the total budget for that item. The next column is any funds from other sources or partners. So if we expect to get any funding, keep in mind that this is the known funding to date. There could be funding that comes up throughout the year, so that's not including that. We'll apply for that throughout the year as they come up. Then we have the balance that MODI would fund. The D and P column stands for design and procure, so it's just the phase of that project. And then we have the different funds that the project would be funded through. So we have the capital reserve, the CCBF fund, or the Canada Community Building Fund, or formerly known as gas tax, the special reserve, which is where we are holding our commitment to the Mariner Centre, and then the operating reserve. So for this first project, as you can see, this one would fall under the category for the CCBF fund. I will mention that this fund, there are certain stipulations and certain expenses that need to be, certain expenditures that are approved under this program. It's not just any addition. If we go on to the next LED streetlights, we've replace and install typically a few LED streetlights every year, so we've budgeted $10,000 for this. We've been working on the Hebron-Dayton sewer system for a few years now, modernizing the infrastructure to solve maintenance issues and to have a better handle on both the inflow and the infiltration into the system. So we've budgeted $400,000 under the CCBF fund for this project. If we move on to the new category, the sewer system upgrades, so replace the lift station panel, so LS4, which is in Captain Landers Court. We've budgeted $31,000 funded under the CCBF fund. We have a few projects for the Port Maitland Sewer Treatment Plant. The first one is the treatment process study. So this would be a condition assessment / design on the plant. So what works, what doesn't, potential new technologies out there that could make the plant more efficient, etc. This will inform future upgrades to the plant. We've allocated $15,000 for the design, again under the CCBF fund. Next, for the Port Maitland Sewer Treatment Plant is the staircase. So we're proposing replacing the staircase to increase the safety at the plant. We've budgeted $30,000 for this under the CCBF fund. Again, for the Port Maitland Sewer Treatment Plant, this would be the envelope, so the siding and exterior lighting. The budget for this is $50,000 funded through the CCBF fund. Public Works has identified a tractor in need of replacement. This item was deferred from previous year. We've budgeted $90,000 for that. Again, in the Public Works Department, a new salter has been identified for replacement, a budget of $9,244. Moving on to recreation, so we've Another proposed project is resurfacing the Hebron Rec tennis courts. This was another item deferred from prior year. This would be fixing the cracks, new net posts, line painting, etc. So the quote came in here, you can see at $102,000. We expect to receive about a third in funding, so $34,000, which leaves Modi's balance to fund at $68,000. And we expect to use the CCBF funds for that. Recreation has also identified a new half-ton truck, better equipped for the staff to bring equipment and to service the grounds / field maintenance. We've budgeted $75,000 for that. A few other recreation pieces of equipment to maintain the fields would be a zero-turn mower, so $15,000 budgeted for the zero-turn, and a three-point tiller, $8,000 budgeted for the tiller. The next one, Active Transportation Plan Phase 2, so Highway 3, the airport stretch. You'll see a little asterisk on the left side. We don't have a budget number for this. We're pending negotiations with the province. When we do receive this, it will come back to council. So I have it saved there as a line item, so we don't lose track of it. The 62 RCOM replacement of the HVAC units 3 and 4, they're reaching the end of its useful life. We've replaced 1 and 2, as you remember, in this fiscal. So we budgeted $60,000 each for a total of $120,000. Hebron-Dayton sidewalk extension. This would run from the Dayton Red and White to Hyundai and meet up with the existing sidewalk at Hyundai. So the design work was done a couple of years ago. So to complete the project, this is the procurement phase, budgeted for at $1.4 million. Estimated funding, 40% the capital reserve, 60% CCBF. The next line is the Nova West Business Park. So following our expansion phase 2 completed in this fiscal, we have a bit more work to be done. This would be for the paving top coat and line painting, budgeted at $103,000. And then to continue our expansion at the Nova West Regional Business Park, another project that is proposed is the expansion of phase 3. So this would be the design phase of the undeveloped land to the west side of County Crescent. Next is our admin building. So we've identified the sloped roof should be replaced. This is the budget to replace the shingles to metal for $165,000. The admin photocopier has reached its end of its useful life, so budgeted at $12,500 to replace that. The Cape for Shoe Master Plan 3.1 parking lot, this is carrying forward from 25-26. We've budgeted $436,000 for the design phase of the project. Recognizing this is a little bit high for a design, keep in mind the landscape at the Cape and some of the geological issues that we could potentially run into on top of a temporary operational plan we'll have to have and water supply that we'll have to have in combination with this project. The Mariner Center ice surface. So the Mariner Center is one of our regional assets for which the ice surface in Arena 1 needs replacing. So the budget of $646,000 is our commitment, is our share to the cost. Again, with the Mariner Center, the transfer to reserve, so we've budgeted one more transfer into our special reserve, which is where the rest of our commitment is. So we have one more transfer of about $90,000 and our commitment will be made. And then the next line is the actual payout of the commitment to the Mariner Center, which shows the full $3.86 million. The next line, so Tower Road Water Utility Extension, I've identified this project on the capital investment plan, identifying that it will be the feasibility study, which falls under the operating, which is why that there's no number associated to this project. So I've added it here just to ensure that we're not going to lose sight, and it could bring future capital projects. But for now, the feasibility study we'll see in the operating budget at that time. So that sums up the list of the proposed projects and acquisitions for 2026-27, funded through a combination of the capital reserve, CCBF, and the special reserve. So we have a total investment plan of $7,761,292.
The first one I seen was Councillor Trevor Perry, then Councillor Phil Mooney, then Councillor Lauren Cushing.
Maybe Jimmy Baxter. Councillor Baxter, maybe.
Well, okay, with Jim, Phil, then Lauren. All right, Councillor Baxter.
Thank you for your presentation, Angelique. Just one question on that very last line. We have a line placemaker for playground and design phase.
That is a placeholder for, there are some funds sitting in a reserve for when the opportunity kind of comes up. So if there are playgrounds, they fall under the Parkland Dedication Fund. So we have a fund dedicated for that. But it is upon discussions with council whether or not you wish to spend those.
Okay, very good, thank you.
And
Councillor Mooney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Angelique, just piggybacking on Councillor Baxter, the playground, the money that we get for the playground funds all comes from the transfer, right? We don't put anything else in there?
Park dedication.
So the
Parkland
funds-
dedication, yes.
Right, so the subdivision and Parkland, 50% goes to the capital and 50% goes to the operating, so yes.
Okay, good. And can you just say, like, it was an excellent report, and there's some excellent projects on there, and the amount you said was just a little over 7 million, but do you know, just off the top of your head, how much comes from the gas tax or the CCB, I think, or the CCF?
Yeah, so we have roughly 1.5 million
Okay.
being funded through the Canada Community Building Fund.
Yeah, CCBF. Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Lauren Cushing.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Angelique, again, very well presented, and I like all the numbers that are there. Just a question on the tennis court resurfacing. When was the last time that was done? Do you know?
I'll have to take that back and get that for you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham.
Yes, thank you, Angelique. Excellent slate of projects, and it is nice to be able to leverage some of our dollars with the gas tax funds, because those are dollars that come from outside the municipality, which is great. So, in any event, thanks for all the hard work, both staff and with the council, and it's a great plan to move the municipality district of Yarmouth forward. So, lots of things going on, and I'm very pleased. Thanks.
I'm next, then Councillor Phil Mooney, I see coming up again. I'm going to ask one question about the active transportation plan, Phase 2 highway in the airport stretch. I do know that we're in negotiations currently with the province and stuff like that, but I guess this would be more a question along the lines of, I do believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Madam CEO or Angelique, I do believe we have to report this to the province. So how, we don't have a number in there right now, so when we report this to the province, doesn't this have to be as accurate as possible, and how do we justify that?
Yep. So we would send it in with probably a note alongside of it, and what the province would expect to see is that if the project goes forward, that there's a resolution of council approving the expenditure when we know the number.
Because we don't know if that number is going to be hopefully 250,000 or less, or up to, who knows? So I was just curious about that.
Yep. So just to be clear, the filing of the capital investment plan with the province is not for approval, it's for information.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Phil Mooney, you had your hand up, but, okay. Councillor Daniel Muse.
Thank you, Angelique. Under recreation, there's about $102,000 minus the 34 that we had planned. So is that, so it ends up being around 67, is that split between us and our partners, the town, on the recreation?
Madam CEO?
I'll take it, because it relates to the intermunicipal agreement.
Yeah.
So the intermunicipal agreement that stands up Yarmouth Recreation excludes capital expenditures. So, but what we do inside the agreement is, we don't charge each other for the use of the facilities through the delivery of the services. So if the municipality makes an investment in the tennis courts, there's no charge back to the town for using that for programming, and vice versa. If the town makes investments at the Lake Milo Boat Club, there's no usage charges to the municipality for the delivery of programs there.
So like the mower and the truck,
So that's different.
Okay.
So what we do is, we actually have an operating expense to offset the amortization of those vehicles,
Okay.
and we take it back in operating.
okay, thank you.
Any more questions, comments? Councillor Phil Mooney.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair, to recommend to regular council that the 2026-2027 capital investment plan be approved as presented.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Lauren Cushion. Discussion? Councillor Cushion, your mic is on.
Thank you. I guess it's, the Cape for Shoe master plan 3-1 parking lot. Just clarify some of the, you said there was some possible problems in doing that or something? What was?
Yeah, so the landscape at the Cape, there could be geological and water supply issues. So the parking lot, in order to do the parking lot, the location of it is at the Wenzel House, I believe is what we call it, which the well is very close to the Wenzel House. So we would have to have a plan for where is the water supply going to come from if that well is going to be decommissioned. So then it becomes a temporary operational plan.
Yeah. Do we not have a water storage place, tank down there?
We do. We have a cistern at Cape for Shoe, but I think what we're trying to convey to council is it's an ordinarily high budget for design work, and it's because we expect it to be an ordinarily complex design project. So there will be a lot more geological research required. There will be more disciplines inside the engineering profession required, because there are different types of sub-disciplines required to provide advice on it. So it's not just a matter of demolishing the Wenzel House and paving over it. There are more implications. So I think that's what we're trying to convey as a staff about why the budget for design is higher than what we would normally see for a design.
Yes, I can appreciate that. There's a good chance there's going to be ledge, which is going to be a big problem, so thank you.
Any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. My apologies to those watching. I forgot to turn my microphone back on. Thank you very much, Angelique. All right, the addition to the item, the NSFM conference here in Yarmouth, item 10.3, Councillor Phil Mooney, you had asked to have this on the agenda.
Yeah, thank you,
The floor is
Mr.
yours.
Chair. I believe there's still an opportunity to appoint a person for the host committee, and I'd like to make a motion that we put Councillor Daniel Muse's name forward to the Federation of Nova Scotia Municipalities for the Planning Committee for the conference coming here in May.
I guess, motion on the floor is seconder? Seconded by Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham. I guess my first question, Councillor Muse, would you accept? Yes. Just making sure.
Yes, I believe I responded to an email that was sent a while back saying that I would be interested, so, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Okay, any Deputy Warden?
Yeah, just want to thank Councillor Muse for taking on that task. It's really important, and I'm sure, you know, the participants will be well served by you being on the committee, so thanks so much.
Yeah, absolutely, Councillor Muse. I'm glad to see that we're having some representation here because it's a chance to showcase our region once again to all councillors across the province of Nova Scotia. And anytime we hold an event here, people love the events that we hold, and they can't wait to get back. And after seeing your singing performance at the New Year's Day levy at the town hall, I know you're certainly the right guy. There is some musicians here that could probably help you out that as well, a little bit of guitar playing, so just saying.
Good.
Councillor Muse?
So if this goes through, would the correspondence come through the CEO, like when the meeting will be, or what's, because I think there was a meeting in January, possibly, I think?
It's my understanding that the NSFM office will correspond directly with their committee reps.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Seeing none? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you very much, Councillor Muse, for putting your name forward for that. Looking forward to that event. All right, that's the end of new business. We'll go back to item number 7, presentations. There's no presentations. Item number 8, correspondence for action, 8.1.1, the Mile East Productions 10th anniversary celebrations. Madam CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just, this is flagged in your package for action because the invitation is asking those people who can attend to RSVP, and the information to RSVP is in the letter, so I just wanted to remind everybody about that.
Yep. I do plan on RSVPing to that event. Thank you. Moving on, item 8.1.2, the Yarmouth International Airport Corporation annual requirement for audit services. Madam CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So there's a recommendation from the International Airport Corporation Board to take a hard look at saving some money and having an annual review of the financial statements that matches more closely the activities at the airport. So the recommendation is that instead of doing a full audit, that the operations do lend themselves well to what's called a review engagement as opposed to an audit. There's still a look at financial controls, there's still reporting on the policies that are in place, but the level of testing that's done on the number of transactions in the operation isn't as rigorous. And so the board is recommending that because there's significant savings, if you read in the letter, audit costs were $17,000 there last year, that there could be significant savings. There has been a conversation with the CEO at the airport and the CAOs just to make sure that before any changes are made to the intermunicipal agreement, allowing for a change from an audit, which is required in the intermunicipal agreement, to a review engagement, that we do still align with the accounting standards and the requirements of the province. So if there's an appetite on council's part to agree to this evening, the recommendation to council, my advice would be that it's a conditional recommendation, that you accept the recommendation of the board pending alignment with accounting policies and standards, and that you'd be agreeable to amend the IMA if the other two partners are.
Councillor Phil Mooney.
Just to the CAO, Mr. Chair, and this, the Airport Corporation is something that's really hands-on with the three CAOs too, right? This is not, it's not like we're doing hundreds of thousands, not thousands of transactions. This is something that you guys are doing in-house and looking at it basically on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis.
I can't say that. I can say that we are all engaged, attending the board meetings. One or all of us are at the board meetings regularly. We're engaging with the CEO. I think what I would share with council is, you know, there is a body of work underway to take a look at all the regional assets and modernize them, and make sure that the corporate services match the size of the operation. So that's why the recommendation is that it's a conditional motion if there's an appetite on the part of council, to amend the IMA to dial it back. It's too late in the current cycle to do it for the audit for the end of this fiscal year, so it wouldn't even take effect if it goes forward until the review of the financial statements for the 27-28 fiscal year.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion, conditional, Municipality District of Yarmouth on a conditional basis, consider offering relief to the Yarmouth Airport on the Section 19 of the intermunicipal agreement by way of an exemption or amendment, and provide such language allowing it to seek annually external accounting services scope to suit or review engagement. This amendment or exemption before commitments are made for the external accounting services to cover the 27-28,
Would be effective for the 27-28.
effective for the 27-28 fiscal year.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Lauren Cushing. Discussion, Councillor Jim Baxter, then Councillor Lauren Cushing.
Thank you, Warden. Through you, my question, I guess, is to the CAO. Would it be Doan Grant Thornton that we'd have to go for to ensure that we're still in compliance on our audit to auditing standards?
Because of the consolidation.
yeah.
Yep. So as long as Doan Grant Thornton is the municipal auditor, then they would be the advisors on that. If the audit company were to change, then that would also be their responsibility, whoever they are, is to advise council on the compliance issues.
Okay, so that would
Yep.
be the condition. Okay.
Councillor Lauren Cushing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since we're recommending that the audit services are skill, I'm trying to find the word that you used. Instead of an audit, it's going to be a review?
Right.
Review. Is that going to be part of some of the other entities that we are presently involved with
So the
down the road?
Airport Corporation is one of the regional assets that is part of that group of assets. And so all of those things around governance and financial management would be part of that project.
Okay, thank you.
I have a point of clarification on the motion on the floor. This was a recommendation to regular council, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Moving on to item 8.1.3, the street light request, Bunkers Island Community Mailbox. Also there in the package is the street light request briefing note that was presented to the previous council on October the 3rd of 2024. Councillor Daniel Muse.
I'd like to make a motion to move the regular council meeting that we install a streetlight on Bunkers Island Road on or near the Canada Post community mailboxes with reference to 4.5 of the street light policy S-088-98.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Trevor Perry. Discussion. Councillor Jim Baxter, you have your microphone.
I guess this is just a question where this motion was tabled. Don't we need to remove it from the table first?
Not necessarily. You could just make the motion to take an action.
Okay.
Any more discussion? I have a question, but I'm just trying to find out where it was in the briefing note. Back here in the recommendation, it says here, based on the considerable financial exposure combined with the lack of control and access to timely information from Canada Post, it is not recommended that a street light be installed at the community boxes on Bunkers Island Road. That was supplied in the briefing note that's put in forward in front of you to October the 3rd of 2024, and that's the reason why the motion was tabled, because at that time, council wanted to go back in and go over that policy, because it put the municipality district of Yarmouth at quite a financial exposure, and I have to agree. So the way that from my understanding, and Madam CEO, please correct me if I'm wrong, were we not supposed to go back and tidy up this policy in regards to streetlights before? Or that was the previous council? Now, I know that's the previous council and this is a new council, and we can do or change or make a motion that's currently on the floor.
So there is, to Councillor Baxter's point, there's a motion that's been tabled with respect to this briefing note. So there was no instructions given to review the streetlight policy and deal with this particular dynamic. It's been unfinished business that's been on the table. So tonight, there's a motion on the floor to respond
yeah.
to the new streetlight request that was received on December 28th.
Yeah, okay. Councillor Trevor Perry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I've got a few things to say about that. I know in the recommendation, there was talk about 66 different community boxes, and that we don't want to put ourselves out there and be required to put lighting over top of things that don't belong to the municipality. But in all fairness, I don't think it's reasonable to think that there's going to be 66 requests for lightings over community mailboxes. If there's 10 over the next 10 years or something, then so be it. You know, with all the money we spend here on various things, sometimes for safety, for studies, et cetera, $1,200 to serve 70 families that have their mail at that area seems like a no-brainer to me. I mean, that's works out to $17 per household that we're spending to put a street light over top of that postal box on Bunkers Island. I guess that's the main thing I have to say about that.
Okay. Councillor Muse?
Just to further that, Councillor Perry, I got some numbers today from the Public Works. So 1386 is now the installation of a street light, potentially up to $1,500 with they use traffic control, and I believe it's roughly $50 a year to operate that light. So I think I agree with you. It's a no-brainer. It's in our policy under 4.5. Strictly says that we can do this, whether it be over a dry hydrant or whatever. It's in our policy, so I can't see how we could not put this forward. Thank you.
Councillor Baxter?
I tend to agree with the two councillors. Thank you, Warden. I tend to agree with the two councillors that just brought up some points. My points on this one, which I thought we were going to discuss in our next meeting, but we can discuss it now, is there are a couple things. Number one, you have residents that are complaining that it's not lighted. Number two, you have the RCMP sending a letter along that it's a concerned area. They've had 5 calls in 3 years. So lighting is an issue in an area like that. And number three, probably as important as the rest, a previous councillor took the time to drive around the communities at night taking pictures of the municipal boxes just to show how much you couldn't see at that one mailbox, and that it wasn't a common problem at the community mailboxes, so it would not be all 66 of them. I think this is a one of. I think it's very unique. I think it has those 3 points going for it that the rest of the lights don't have going for it. I think this policy has been around for probably 20 years now, and this is the first time that it's been brought up as an area of concern. And I've heard that Bunkers Island was an area of concern from my residents, not including any of this. So it didn't surprise me when I read this and found that a resident of that area is saying the same thing, that Bunkers Island is an area of concern. Thank you.
Deputy Warden?
Right, I hear what everybody's saying, and I guess we don't know what the future will be on the request necessarily. It may in fact be the case that not many people come forward with that request, but it will be a significant burden if they do, and the mailboxes also do move, and there's no sort of agreement between us and Canada Post to have them notify us or anything like that. So it may be, given that we've got the one street light down there, and this is kind of the 11th hour type thing, I'll be voting in favor of the motion. But having said that, I think that I'd like to make a modification to the, or an amendment to the motion, and just asking staff to monitor the number of requests, and, you know, if additional requests are made, that we would review the policy.
Okay, so you're making that as amendment, Deputy Warden?
Yep.
Do I have a seconder on the amendment on the motion? Seconded by Councillor Jim Baxter. Any discussion on the amendment? I do have a couple things to say. And this is not going to reflect on the way that I vote on either the amendment or the main motion. Canada Post, as a matter of policy, does not provide streetlights at community mailbox locations. I don't know if the locations at the current mailboxes already had street lighting. Personally, I do know the one in Carlton is on private property, and there's no street light there. And the floodlight is only operated by a switch inside the location, just saying. We had contacted Canada Post, the municipality, and 4 hours were spent on telephone calls, moving through various departments within Canada Post, trying to ascertain the information necessary to measure the total exposure to the municipality. I don't know, Canada Post is currently going under changes, and whether that's going to mean whether there's going to be rural, the deletion of rural mailboxes across the municipality in addition to more of these community mailboxes. I think Canada Post themselves, they pay for maintenance and they pay for snow plowing at these, so why don't they pay for streetlights? I think the first thing we should be doing in this matter is contacting Canada Post and asking them to change their policy. Now, they're a federal department, whether they'll change it, I have no idea. Probably not. But I'm really not sure where I'm going to vote on this. It is in our municipal policy, but I do believe that our current policy sets the municipality at financial risk to, down the road, to Canada Post say, oh, they put one mailbox there and they're putting a light there, we'll put them wherever we want. Maybe there was criteria before where there was street lights already installed and they picked those locations. Now, if we go ahead and do this, I think it's just opening the door for Canada Post to run over us and stick them wherever they wish and say, oh, the municipality will put a street light there because of policy. I think we should be looking at our policy first. I don't know who was next. I did see Councillor Lauren Cushion, and I did see the deputy warden come on. I don't know when Councillor Baxter.
I was last.
Okay, so Councillor Cushion.
Oh, I didn't see yours.
Councillor Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham, Councillor Trevor Perry, Councillor Daniel Muse, and then Councillor Jim Baxter. Just to everyone, we're working with a new microphone system, and soon I'll be able to tell who put their microphone on first, and I apologize to each and every one of my colleagues if I got your order wrong. So the first one is Councillor Lauren Cushion.
Thank you, Mr. Warden, and not a problem. I certainly agree with what you're saying, and Canada Post should be responsible for making lighting in that area. But unfortunately, Bunkers Island, you know, it is what it is. There's a lot of stuff happening down there, and with a street light over that would certainly help, not just with the mailboxes, but perhaps with some less unappreciated activity that goes on down there. So I'll be in favor of it, but I certainly like to have a review of our policy on streetlights, and again, contact Canada Post and see where they stand on and providing lights. I know what they're going to say. It's the federal government anyway, so it's going to be a no. But maybe I shouldn't have said that. But anyway, we should reach out to Canada Post and see what their policies are, and if they're going to change them some to provide lighting at mailboxes, because it does become a risk to residents who use these community mailboxes. So I will be voting in favor of the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham.
Right, good point, and where it is very particular circumstances, we do have an existing policy, and we do have the letter. I'll be voting in favor. I guess with the amendment, really, I guess that's what we're talking about now. But so I think the amendment will protect us. This is sort of a one-off. We've got those 66 others that likely won't come, but in the event that it does start to speed up, that will trigger a review of the policy, and we can look at it at that point. Maybe we should look at it anyway, but that's another matter. So having said that, I'll just ask the warden, when we're done this, I have another motion to make as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next one is Councillor Trevor Perry.
Yeah, piling on, I guess, against Canada Post a little bit. I'm not sure if they had to have permission when they set up these boxes years ago, but some of that was under the guise of safety for their employees, and shame on them, because to set these boxes up where they did, and there's places where there's parking's terrible. I know a few that are dangerous for people to get out of their vehicles to get their mail, and basically it was a cost-cutting measure, I'm sure, more than safety. And in my district, which is where Bunkers Island one is, there's no other ones that don't have some kind of lighting, maybe by coincidence more than on purpose, but that's the worst one for sure. And I did travel that a few times to look at it again last night, and it's very dark there, and as Councillor Cushion was talking about Bunkers Island being, things that are going on there, maybe we should be looking at the lighting situation there as well, especially in consideration of the RCMP report that we had. So I guess that's all I'm going to say about that.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Daniel Muse.
Mr. Warden, this policy's been in place since March of 2006, 20 years, and this is really the first time that this has come up. I've heard a lot of speculation, Mr. Warden. You were talking about what could happen, what might happen. We can't make decisions on what speculation possibly could be, what can't be. I will be voting negative against the amendment, because I would hate to see that we look at our policy, change our policy, we give this to Bunkers Island, and then somebody in Port Maitland or somebody on the Cape want the same level of security and service, and we say no. So I don't really like the looks of that as our municipality, given this and then turn around and changing our policy and not allowing it for somewhere else to happen. So I will vote no on the amendment. And for those particular reasons, I think we should stand tall for what we believe in. If we're doing it for one, I don't think we're going to get 66. That's speculation as well. But if we are, what's fair for one, we need to take care of our residents, and safety is important. And that's how I feel about that.
Thank you, Councillor Muse. Councillor Jim Baxter.
Thank you, Warden. Just to speak to some of the comments that Councillor Muse just made, I don't disagree with the amendment. Right now, I wouldn't go in and rewrite the policy because we have no reason to. Previous council decided that it should be in there, and that's why it's in there. But I think if we do wind up with an influx of requests, I don't expect to, but if we do get an influx of requests, then we probably should revisit it again. That being said, I don't think the route to chase Canada Post on their policy would be the right way to go, because they've been around for hundreds of years. There's been community mailboxes for probably 50 years kicking around in communities. If they've never lit them before, I don't think they're going to light them now. It may not be a bad idea after the fact to send them the $1,500 bill for putting this one light in, but I don't think chasing them to change their policy is going to be effective for I think it's the onus is on us to look after the safety of our residents more so.
Deputy Warden?
Yeah, just quickly, I'm voting in favor of the, obviously I made the amendment, and the amendment does speak to that. If there are, if there is an uptick in additional requests, that we would review the policy. And in the spirit of this is more of a one-off, I think that's been mentioned, that this is a one-off type situation, a very particular set of circumstances. We have an existing policy which addresses this, and so I think for those reasons, and again, there's also the cost facet, and that it's a federal government asset, it's not a municipal asset, so we could get into talking about safety areas. I know there's one right here in our business park that's not lit. So, and that was sort of brought to the table, and we didn't like that. There's some lighting from some of the adjacent businesses and so forth, but in any event, I'm not sure of how much of an issue it may become. I've heard lots of things. I think we just don't know. But that wouldn't stop me from voting in favor of the main motion. But I think we do need the amendment approved to protect us against, 66, lighting 66 federal sites, and chasing that is going to come at a considerable cost to the ratepayers. And listen, everything's good, but again, if you spend the money there, you can't spend it somewhere else, and so that's an additional operating cost, and capital and operating costs. So those will be my comments and last comments. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Deputy Warden. I'm actually in favor of the amendment on the main motion. I know what I mentioned before about maybe or what ifs. I do remember another policy that we went against, and we turned around, and the next council meeting, we had another request, which was the same thing, and things can happen really quickly. And I do appreciate everyone's input on this. I am torn. I do believe that the safety and stuff for the mailboxes is paramount, and I don't think it should be our responsibility on the municipal taxpayers, because we pay enough for federal services. But there has been, I have heard people talk about that it is dark, and I don't disagree. It is dark. I know exactly where it is, and there's, I think this is a one-off. I hope it's a one-off. But with the amendment, I can vote in favor of the amendment and the main motion, because the amendment will change the main motion slightly, and we'll just go down that road when it comes.
Three.
Councillor Phil Mooney, then Councillor
Three.
Fisher.
We're getting three C's now? Anyways, that place where that mailbox is terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And I have to disagree with something that Councillor Baxter said, that Canada Post has been around for 100 or more years. But if you look at the fiscal reality and the trouble that they're in right now, they're a Crown corporation. I don't know what capacity they're going to be in the next 20 years. If you go around any one of those 66 mailboxes right now, there is serious deficiencies. I'm talking about capacity to get to the box. I'm talking about snow. I'm talking about water. I'm talking about mud. Down at Bunkers Island, that place sucks. There's U-turns down there. People are just going down, getting their mailbox and cutting out in front of other people and U-turning back up the road. The turning radius down there is terrible. Like, even though that road is wide, people are just that and coming up the other way. I don't know how I'm going to vote when it comes up to the motion. We're doing a lot of talking tonight, but we still have to make the main vote coming up at the regular council meeting. But there's going to be 66 that we're talking about. There's going to be many more, because you're going to be seeing places like the Kelly Road, the Perry Road. There's not going to be people getting door-to-door mail. And there's going to be more and more community mailboxes in Canada Post. I'm not talking about the everyday mail delivery people and the guys that drive the trucks and bring the mail to us. I'm not talking about those people. But the people at the top or close to the top, that come in and make these decisions and put those mailboxes in anywhere they want. They have, did you look over Councillor Cushing's territory? The Grove Road was brutal. The people parking there from the hospital, people going to get blood work, they're parking over there. It's not as bad now because you don't have to charge $4 for parking, but that thing was blocked off 3/4 of the time. You go to the hospital, they're making announcements over the public address system. Your truck is AAA BBB is blocking the community mailbox. Can you please move it? So this, I'll probably support the motion when it comes up, but Canada Post has to do a lot better job. There has to be communications between us and them, and there has to be a serious look when they just put in the community mailbox. I know I was at the town of Yarmouth when I was a councillor there. They wanted to use the second parking lot up from the old RCMP station, and we said, yes, without, any thought to it. I don't know if there's lighting there or not. But we're going to have to do a better job. They're going to have to do a better job with communications with us, and we're going to have to hold those guys' feet to the fire when it comes to actual access to some of those boxes. Because I know my stepmother-in-law had serious problems getting to a mailbox. She was in her 70s, when there was ice and snow. And if you look at the population of Yarmouth, the municipality of Yarmouth, we have an aged population, and we're going to have to do better. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's going to be more requests. Not only when requests for this, but there's going to be some requests coming up, and we're going to have to, next time we talk to the Department of Highways, to what the process is to get clear access to some of those boxes in wintertime, because you can plow it out once, but the biggest problem is the rutting in the water and the ice. So I don't know what I'm going to do, probably support it in the next meeting, but I'll have some careful consideration and look at some of the other things. But Canada Post has to bear some of the responsibility for putting a box in such an awkward spot. And I only spoke once, Mr. Chair.
Point of correction.
It was a long one, though.
Point of correction, you spoke less than 5 minutes, but it was substantive. But when you talked about threesies, we are talking on the amendment, so you do get 2 chances to speak. Councillor Cushing would be a second chance to speak on this amendment, so.
Do I get 3 more?
No, you get 1 more if you wish. Councillor Cushing, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I won't be long as Councillor Mooney was, but however, I do agree with Councillor Mooney with what he was saying about the mailboxes on the 304 by the hospital. Yes, it is congested a lot. Now, also, the Cranberry Head Road has a mailbox there that is terrible in the wintertime when it's rainy, it gets muddy and whatnot. And I think it was a NSFM conference that was in Halifax, and Canada Post was there. It might have been, anyway, one of the conferences anyway. And I spoke to Canada Post, and I told them about the Cranberry Head Road being a heck of a place to have a mailbox there. If you could put some gravel, if you could make it better for people to get in there, because it's slippery when it freezes and the whole thing. And they say, oh yeah, we'll look at it. And then the next thing I found out that they say, after a review, we found no problems with it. So it's terrible there. And then the one on the Bain Road in my district again, it's right alongside you just got to walk across the ditch and get to your mailbox. So there's no real parking there at all to do anything. So as I mentioned earlier, I think Canada Post should be contacted. And I know they're not going to change their policies any, but we certainly got to try. We certainly got to push for this. And I'll be in also, lastly, on as for the review of our policies, I think it's a good idea to review. It's going to be council's decision whether we change a whole lot or just keep it as it is, make a minor adjustment there or not, right? So I'm in favor of both motions.
Any more discussion on the amendment to the main motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Vote of 6-1, motion is carried. Councillor Muse, will you wish to have your name recorded? Okay. Thank you. Okay, back to the main motion. Any more discussion on the main motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you, council. Thank you for the discussion.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Deputy Warden, I haven't forgotten about you. You had mentioned that you want to still speak on this issue. You have the floor, Deputy
Yeah,
Warden.
it was a good conversation, and folks said lots, and it was all true. And the one thing that I think we can all agree on as being absolutely factual is we've tried before. I've been on council for quite a long period of time, and we've written Canada Post, we've had presentations. Almost, I would say, I can't recall one time that it made any difference. Maybe I'll stand corrected, but I don't think so. So I think going down that path of writing Canada Post may not be that productive. I would agree. But what did resonate with me was what Councillor Mooney said about accountability. And it's a Crown Corp. It's a federal Crown Corp. So I'm going to move that we write our MP, Chris D'Entremont, and ask him to hold Canada Post accountable for the lighting and maintenance of the mailboxes and placement of the mailboxes, as we've talked tonight. And I mean, that's a federal responsibility, overseen by Parliament through the Crown Court. And if they're not responding to us, and we should also put in the letter that, we haven't had a good response from Canada Post, and we're looking potentially also for some cost recovery on the lighting.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Lauren Cushing. Discussion on that. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Any more discussion on that item under correspondence for action? Seeing none? Moving on to item 8.2, correspondence for information. You have in front of you 4 pieces. Any comments on any of those things? Municipal profile on coastal condition indicators results for 2024-2025, ENSFM Advisory Committee opportunities. Letter of concern regarding declining cell service to Tim Houston and the Yarmouth Hospital Foundation. Councillor Mooney.
I'm just going to ask Councillor Cunningham, Trevor, is how long, because you were on the infrastructure one, how long is a term, 1 year, Trev?
It's 2.
So what's this for you?
This is second, but I think...
Second coming up?
Yeah. But I think that there's some wording in there. If there's nobody else that comes forward, you can remain. I'm
Okay.
not entirely certain on
Yeah,
that.
and I might have a little more information. We have a retreat with the Federation of Nova Scotia Municipalities Executive Committee or Board of Directors in the 3rd week of February in Halifax, so...
The committees are short, though, so anybody that wants to sit on the infrastructure committee, please do. It's great.
I've heard some of your infrastructure speeches. They're spellbinding. I've never heard anything like them. Ooh. And I just had hip surgery and they put me to sleep. Ooh.
Well, anyway, we'll move on from that. If there's no more discussion on any of those, I'd entertain
Chair?
a motion that, Deputy Warden?
I do have one question. There was on one of the indicators, there was a yellow light, and I wasn't able, I looked at it quickly, but wasn't able to decide. It was debt servicing or something like that. I was shocked that it was a yellow light because we have so little debt.
Yes.
There must be something
There is a
wonky with the numbers.
footnote, and it's, thank you for the question, Deputy Warden, it is important. So the financial conditions indicators are a set of tools that are generally used in the same way across all municipalities in Nova Scotia to provide a glimpse into the financial health of municipalities. And obviously, one of the things you want to do is to keep your ability to service your debt within a manageable range. And so the municipality had a mortgage on the administration building, and when the mortgage was up for renewal, council decided to pay out the mortgage, $1.6 million. What that did was create an anomaly in the activity around our debt management, and so there's a footnote on that, and that's why it's yellow in this report.
Councillor Jim Baxter.
Thank you, Warden. Since you brought up the report, I do have a question on it. Are the indicators standard across the province, or are they our indicators?
They're standard for every municipality, has the same indicators, measured the same way, in the same interval, based on the same reports.
Then we're doing wonderfully. I was going to say that indicators, normally a red or a yellow indicator isn't a bad thing. It's telling you where you need to focus. But if we don't have control over the indicators, if they're directed across the province, then it is what it is. We're doing wonderful.
I think it's awfully strange that we're being penalized in an indicator because we paid off a loan early. It blows my mind. Sometimes I don't understand how higher levels of government work. Anyway, if there's no more discussion on any of those items, I'd entertain a motion that the correspondence was received and placed on file. Moved by Councillor Phil Mooney, seconded by Councillor Lauren Cushion. Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item number 9.1, under old business, council appointment to water working group.
We need one.
Yep, we need one. You know something? I'm going to point this out. We have a water working group, and we have someone with us sitting amongst us who used to sit on another council and worked with the water authority. And there may be questions in the corporate knowledge that man may have might be quite valuable to that committee. So
They're not being able to talk about lighting too at the same time.
very well could.
No problem.
So someone willing to make a motion to appoint Councillor Phil Mooney? I will. Moved by Councillor Daniel Muse. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Jim Baxter. Councillor Mooney, do you accept? Would you accept if this motion passes? I don't want to have you come back. Any discussion on that? Seeing none?
Ici, monsieur.
Madam CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this will be a recommendation to council for January 28th, but I just want everybody to know that we will be hounding Councillor Baxter and Councillor Mooney before that to get the first meeting on the go.
Okay. No more discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Nothing like being voluntold. Thank you, Councillor Mooney. I'm hoping for some insightful and meaningful discussion on that. Moving on, item 11, public comments. There's none? Okay, item number 12, in-camera recommendations. I do believe there was 2 recommendations from the in-camera discussion. Councillor Jim Baxter, you have the floor.
I make a recommendation that the subdivider provide to the municipality a sum of money equivalent to 5% of the market value of lots TP1 and TP1 as a parkland dedication, and that is file 10022, PID number 902-32257.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder?
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Phil Mooney. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Councillor Baxter, you still have the floor.
I have a second recommendation that the subdivider for, now this is a second item, provide to the municipality of sum of money equivalent to 5% of the market value of Lot 25-1 as parkland dedication, and that is on file number 10022, PID number 90120221.
Your motion on the floor, do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Trevor Perry. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item 13, that's the end of the agenda, therefore I call this meeting closed.